Immortal here, today with my Immortal Firebolt Sorcerer build for Season 4. This build is a mixed bag. It is kind of fast, it is strong, and there is multiple videos on YouTube of people clearing 100 and above, but those have extremely used gear. I'm talking about near perfect things. This build is the true Exodia. If something is missing, you are not going to achieve immortality. Picture this. You are approaching a singularity. The closer you get, the more you're going to feel its effects. This build is just like that. The worse your gear, the worse your experience. You're going to constantly get one-shot. Simple, but once you cross the event horizon, you're invincible 100% of the time because of immune, which will allow you to keep blasting. Now, you might think this build is simple, but there is a lot more to it than you would think. We are also going to use flicker stabs to reset the cooldown on Inferno, which allows us to pull enemies into each other to blast them apart. This, however, makes the build much more stressful to play. Well, it's kind of stressful already because there's no room for error. You need to play nearly perfectly to not instantly die. If you make a mistake, instant death awaits. Now, at the end I will also include some extended gameplay for a little bit of a higher tier boss, so you can have a look at what this build actually plays like. It is also mechanically demanding. Now, if you like what I do and want to support me, make sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I cover all sorts of RPG, speed strategy, CRPG on this channel in form of extensive guides. So thank you very much for the support and let's dive into the meat. Now first a quick explanation of the build. You're going to shoot firebolts. Those will deal quite okay damage. But you need to use your firewall and shoot your firebolts through them to get a more multiplier and to split them up. Those can shotgun. This will deal more damage. It is not going to be obliterating high damage like the barb, but it's okay. Then we have our blizzard to apply chill and to freeze enemies. This one does not have a cooldown. Same with firewall. This is very important because we're going to use the hectic aspect, which we have on our legs. So this one reduces the cooldown of one of our cooldowns by 2 seconds after using our basic attack 5 times. So when we use our flame shield, we can shoot our firebolts, and during the duration we get to around 2 seconds overtime cooldown. Now, Flame Shield currently for me has 2 seconds of downtime. This means I'm missing around 10% cooldown reduction and possibly a little bit of duration to make it a little bit safer. Now, the duration can be achieved through Flame Shield levels and through an additional mod for Flame Shield duration. But I'm currently using total armor on this one because I don't have 100% uptime on Flame Shield, so I'm not completely armor capped, but I'm going to suffer a little bit. So nothing will one-shot me right away, but it will deal considerable amounts of damage. Later, that's not true. Later, you're going to get one-shot regardless, because we only have 18,000 or 19,000 health. We have a little bit on our wand, but I would much prefer the damage here. If we get the immortality stage, we don't need that health. We're going to assume we are 100% immortal. But until then, you need the health, because something will hit you in those 2 seconds. Be it a stray bug, something. You're going to die. And that's going to be really frustrating. So, Flame Shield. This cooldown needs to go to around 10 seconds and the duration to around 4 seconds, so you can maintain this one 100% of the time. So that's the basic mechanic of the build. We are still going to have teleport on our bar, because if something happens, we can use our teleport to get away. So if we mismanage our jump through our spacebar, because we are using the teleport enchant, we are also going to reduce this one with our firebolt. So once we attack, the faster we attack, the faster we can jump around. So technically we can move around with just this one and can never stop blasting. This is also very important later on. You don't want to stop blasting. You want to attack constantly, because if you're going to run around just a tiny amount, you're not going to get the window and you're going to drop off your flame shield, which will then be very, very frustrating because you don't have the 100% uptime. However, there is some leeway here. You have the elemental attunement node. This will reset the cooldown of a defensive skill on a critical strike. We have a tiny amount of critical strike, which is enough to keep our firebolt critting. It has a high lucky hit chance, and this will be enough to reset the cooldown on Flame Shield, especially if we use our Inferno. So we can use Inferno, then our Flame Shield, jump in enemies, because otherwise Flicker Step will not activate. You need to hit them with the damage of a teleport. You cannot just use your teleport, jump over those enemies, and all of those enemies are not going to count towards the cooldown reduction. You need to hit them with the teleport. So this will reset the cooldown on Inferno, because this one is only 20 seconds. So you can use your jump, then fire a few times and jump again This will be enough to reset the complete cooldown. And because of this singular node on our skill tree, the elemental attunement, this will give us a free reset on our flame shield. So even if some of the cooldown reduction from Hectic goes towards Inferno, we are still going to apply Flame Shield, so we can use Inferno for free every around 10 seconds. This will be a massive boost to our damage, because later on, people are slow with this build. This build needs a ton of additional help with damage, and this is one way to do this. Now, I am currently at 40% cooldown reduction. I have not hit the cooldown reduction on Godslayer Crown. I would much rather prefer a Harlequin's Crest. I'm currently farming this one. I only have 2 Resplendent Sparks, but I have 2 characters at level 100 and I'm farming constantly Ubers, so I have 12 down, didn't find a single Uber unique, but we will get there. So if I find this one, this build is perfect, because the additional ranks are so important. The duration of Flame Shield will increase by 0.5 seconds. And we're also going to increase the damage of Firewall, and we're also going to increase the damage of Firebolt, because the Firebolt bonus damage you can see here, so you have 2 enchantments, you have the one here, and you have the one here. So we are using Firebolt with the 10% burning damage applied to enemies, because our clear needs some help and Firebolt is the best experience to have there. But for single target damage, for bossing, Firebolt enchant is the best way to do this. So this will be an immense help to our damage, but will in turn make the clear slower. So that's always a problem. So that's the basic build. So you're going to put your Inferno down, put your Firewall down, put your Blizzard down, teleport into enemies, fire them, and also have your Flame Shield up. You need to constantly watch the Flame Shield duration. You are immune. Okay, so you are immune. If you are not 100% immune, you're going to use your Flame Shield, and shortly before it runs out, you're going to jump away, because otherwise, if you don't do this, you're going to die. You need to then stand back, shoot a few fireballs and hope for the reset on Flame Shield. If it resets, you're golden, you can jump back in, you can use your rotation and go blasting. So next, let's have a look at the skill tree. We are going to start with Firebolt and pick up Glinting Firebolt for 25% more damage. Then we are going to pick up Fireball with the Enhanced Fireball and Greater Fireball. This will allow us to pop our burning damage. A big problem with this build is that enemies are going to have their whole bar burned, but it will take some time for them to die. So with Greater Fireball, we are going to pop that burn and deal a significant amount of damage. We are also going to combine this with an aspect to make this faster. Next, we max out Flame Shield and pick up Shimmering Flame Shield. Then we have Teleport with Enhanced Teleport and Shimmering Teleport. Later on, we are going to delete that because we don't need Shimmering Teleport, so 30% reduced damage. Because we are immune constantly, we can put this one in Hoarfrost for a little bit more damage. Next, we pick up Glass Cannon. Because of our immunity, we don't have any more damage taken here. Then we have Elemental Attunement to reset our Flame Shield. We pick up Align the Elements with Protection. This is really important early on, because we don't have 100% uptime, so we need that extra barrier to keep us alive. Then we pick up 1 point in Blizzard to apply Chill and potentially freeze enemies. We pick up Inner Flames as well as Devouring Blaze for more damage. We have a ton of ranks in Firewall with Mage Firewall, because this will keep our targets burning. Then we have Permafrost, 1 point, don't need that, but we need Hoarfrost. This applies to all damage, so damage versus chilled and frozen enemies. Then we pick up Inferno with all the upgrades, pick up Fiery Surge, Soulfire for more damage, Endless Pyre for more damage, and Warmth for a little bit of health regen. And lastly, Combustion for our Keystone. There is not much else we can do in terms of damage. We could potentially pick up a Hydra, but there is no time to really cast a Hydra, so we don't need that. We can pick up the Precision Magic for the lucky chance to proc our Elemental Attunement, but we actually don't need that either. We are going to proc it regardless. So there's not much to do in the skill tree. We can just max out our Firewall, we can max out our Flame Shield, potentially our Fireball to get more damage here. It's not going to be massive, but a little bit helps. And that's about it. Next, let's talk about the cooldown of Flame Shield. This one is baseline 20 seconds. We don't get reduced cooldown with more ranks. We need cooldown reduction. We have cooldown reduction on the Godslayer Crown or regular helmet or Harlequin Crest. We really need that. On our Catalyst, we want a greater affix cooldown reduction with potential upgrades later. So this one can reach around 20% cooldown reduction. We want the same on our Amulet. This one is not even 920 item power, but I really need that cooldown reduction. Tile Rushers with a max cooldown reduction roll is also needed for this build. So you ideally want to reroll Tile Rushers and hit the cooldown reduction with a 1 to 4 chance. Flicker Stabs, the additional movement speed helps, but I really want this one to have 4 seconds cooldown reduction on an evade. I have a better pair lying around, but I have not upgraded this one. I just dropped them. Then for the Flame Reaver, we want to hit either the attack speed or the Firebolt because we want to reset the cooldown. And the same is true for the Pyromancy attack or double chance to cast. Same here, Pyromancy or double chance to cast. And here again, Pyromancy attack speed. Instead of the life, I would much rather prefer attack speed because the more attacks we have, the faster we can get our flame shield reset, which also helps with the reduction. So all of which will in turn reduce the cooldown. You also really want a hectic aspect to reduce the cooldown even further and faster with a max roll here. So the build is quite tight when it comes to cooldown. Now speaking about gear, we want the Godslayer crown to pull enemies together, a more damage multiplier here. We have the Flame Weaver gloves because we can just pull down a firewall and then shoot through it, and those balls are because of the Flame Weaver. Without that, we are just shooting one singular firebolt, and it will also get 60% or 70% more damage. Then we have the regular pants with Firebolt on this one. Intelligence, really important to boost the damage. Later on, instead of our ruby gems here, we can apply regular topaz gems, which are also going to improve our damage with 100 intelligence. But for now, I'm using this setup. On those pants, you need the hectic aspect. On the chest, we are currently rocking might, but instead of might, I'm going to exchange this one for concussive. Concussive gives us a chance to daze enemies and 20% more damage versus dazed enemies. This is really, really important on the build to improve the damage. Once we are immune to damage, we don't need the damage reduction. Then we have flicker stabs. As mentioned before, we need this one for the cooldown reduction on our Inferno. On our wand, we have basic attack speed, and on our focus, we have engulfing flames. Now you might think, why don't we have a regular mod multiplier? Because we need something to execute enemies. They are burning and burning and burning. This costs time. We want to reduce this one as much as possible. At worst, we are losing 15% more multiplier on a boss fight because the first 50% we don't have the 30% and afterwards we do. And this one also provides us with an execute phase. So the last 5 to 10% we're going to deal 100% more damage, which is pretty damn good. Then we have adaptability on our amulet. We don't want to have Moonrise there because this one is permanently up. We are always above 50% maximum resource, so the basic attacks deal 120% more damage instead of 120% more damage once you apply the aspect. On the ring, Moonrise for more damage, attack speed and movement speed. And lastly, Tidal Rusher's Iridescent Loop. We're going to proc this one with just 3 elemental types. We have fire, we have cold, and we have lightning damage. We don't have any other damage. We cannot fit it on this build. Next up the stats. On our Godslayer crown, we want to maximize their cooldown reduction. So make sure to masterwork this one until you get the cooldown reduction at least one time. Later on, Harlequin crest, you want cooldown reduction. On a regular helmet, you want cooldown reduction. On the chest, you want maximum life, armor and total armor with the temper, and flame shield ranks, as well as a lucky hit chance to freeze enemies. This will buff our damage. Now, once you're immune, you don't need the armor. So you can drop the armor for intelligence, you can drop the temper for flame shield duration, and this will make it easier to sustain our immunity and will give us more damage. Then we have Flame Reaver. You want to hit either attack speed or Firebolt. Devouring Blaze is okay, but it's not going to deal massive amounts of increased damage. Firebolt ranks as well as attack speed ranks are much more important. On the pants you have intelligence, Firebolt ranks, then maximum life. You also want to temper flame shield duration. Try to get this one as high as possible. It will help immensely. The lucky hit chance here is stun chance. I just happen to hit 2 times slow. If you want to reroll this one, there is not much you can really get. Dot chance can be good. Maximum life helps you also a little bit. I think the dot chance, the increased dot chance is going to be more beneficial because if your flame shield falls off, you're going to die anyway. And this one can potentially save you because it's a 100% damage reduction. Basically, you're going to avoid the damage. So you want alternatively dot chance here. On the weapon, intelligence, damage over time, and damage, just regular damage instead of the life, because we don't really need the life if we are immune. But if we are not immune, you want maximum life. So before the immunity, maximum life is better. The 2 tempers on both the relic or the focus and on the wand are pyromancy attack speed and chance to double cast Firebolt. On your catcher, intelligence, maximum life and cooldown reduction. You can also go with crit strike chance instead of the maximum life to reset your flame shield much more likely because it only resets on a lucky hit on a critical strike with your Firebolt. So this will improve your chances. On the amulet, intelligence, attack speed, cooldown reduction, pyromancy attack speed, and flame shield duration. No matter what you hit, it's going to improve your character. The worst one you can hit with a masterwork is going to be intelligence. Ideally, you want to hit the pyromancy attack speed or flame shield duration or cooldown reduction. And on the ring, you want intelligence, attack speed, and chance to make enemies vulnerable, because that's the only source of vulnerable we have, and we are going to use Rigid Fate to improve our damage even further. We have pyromancy attack speed and inferno cooldown. This one is very important. The inferno cooldown will lower the cooldown of inferno to be around 20 seconds, which you really want. So you can use your flicker step to just jump 2 times back to back, and you're going to never waste any simple attacks and any hectic resets on your inferno or make it very unlikely to happen. So next up, the Paragaon board, we are going to maximize the first one with enchanter. That's 140% non-physical damage, which we use for 2 nodes. First one is Searing Heat, next one is Frigid Fate, both apply to our burning damage. We're going to move on to the Burning Instinct board. We're not going to pick up Burning Instinct just yet. We want to pick up Destruction here for crit strike damage, which will improve our damage with Burning Instinct. It's going to be a 91% more damage multiplier. You will see we have damage reduction from elites. Later on, you're going to drop this one if you're immune. You will see in the talent planner that there is a second Paragaon board that doesn't have any damage reduction on it, any health on it. We are going to maximize our damage with going completely glass cannon with stuff like Ruinous and Cinders, as well as Kindling. We want as much damage as possible because we are immune. Remember that. We are immune, so we don't need to think about damage reduction. Then we are going to move on to Reinforced. Reinforced is going to give us damage reduction. We can exchange this one versus Tactician, which is this one. It's going to give you 10% additional damage, more damage, instead of the 15% damage reduction we get currently from the barrier. But we are not completely immune, so we want to have the reinforced barrier here. We also want to pick up the Enhancement Master because we are going to improve our Fireball quite significantly, and we are also going to improve our Firebolt for single target damage. Later, once your clear is really good, even without the Fireball, and you're going to push mostly just bosses, and bosses are going to be the major wall you're going to run at, you want to slot in Firebolt, and Enchantment Master will make this one a much better enchant. The next board is going to be Searing Heat. We pick this one, and then we are going to pick Pyromaniac. Pyromaniac is going to increase our damage significantly, and later on we can also drop the fire resistance because we are immune. We don't need fire resistance, so we can slot those 2 points here and move on, and we are going to save 2 points here. We also have burning damage reduction here. We don't need that. We also have resilience here. We have stuff like resilience here. Here is guarded, and all of those will then wander into more damage or additional damage. We want to maximize the damage, as I already mentioned. The next part is going to be Frigid Fate. We pick Elementalist because we deal fire, cold, and lightning damage, so we get 15% more damage. And lastly, we're going to pick up Burning Instinct. With all the points we're going to save, we can then additionally attach a different board, which is going to be either Control or Flame Feeder, both of which will improve our damage significantly. But before that, you need the DR, you need the survivability, because once a hit comes through and you are not going to have your flame shield on, you're going to die instantly, and this is going to be very frustrating. Anyway, this sums up the video. If you liked what you saw, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also support me some more by joining the channel membership, which will allow me to keep making videos. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
I'm not ready yet. ready yet.